With 143 votes in favor, the United Nations General Assembly has backed a Palestinian bid to become a full United Nations member. Severe weather conditions associated to a cold front in Brazil could worsen the situation in the state of Rio Grande do Sul, intensifying the heavy rains. And in Peru, the brother of President Dina Bolourte was arrested as part of an investigation for criminal organization and influence peddling. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Alejandra Garcia from teleSUR Studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. The United Nations General Assembly has backed a Palestinian bid to become a full United Nations member. The Assembly adopted a resolution on Friday with 143 votes in favor and 9 against, including the US and Israel, while 25 countries abstained. This does not give the Palestinians full United Nations membership, but recognizes them as qualified to join and recommends the United Nations Security Council reconsider the matter favorably. The vote represents a global survey of support for the Palestinian bid to become a full United Nations member, a move that would effectively recognize a Palestinian state after the United States vetoed it in the United Nations Security Council last month. While it does not grant a vote in the body, the draft resolution will give the Palestinians some additional rights and privileges from September 2024, like a seat among the United Nations members in the Assembly Hall.
There are 1 million displaced people in Rafah. Therefore, any shells targeting Rafah will inevitably lead to casualties among women and children. I hope mediators will find a solution to the Rafah issue, as Rafah can't take any more suffering. It's been a ravaged city for 7 months.
The United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine Refugees posted on social media as Israeli forces bombardment intensifies in Rafah, forced displacement continues. UNRWA estimates that around 110,000 people have now fled Rafah looking for safety, but nowhere is safe in the Gaza Strip and living conditions are appalling. The only hope is an immediate ceasefire. Dialysis patients from a major hospital in Rafah had to be transferred to the Nasser Hospital Center nearby Khan Yunis in southern Gaza Strip, where Israeli ground troops withdrew a month ago. Patients and staff at the Abu Yusuf al-Najjar hospital were forced to evacuate on Wednesday as the Israeli operation in Rafah escalated. The hospital was one of the key medical facilities that received the injured in the attacks on the southern city of Gaza. So far, the constant Israeli attacks have closed almost all medical facilities in the besieged Palestinian enclave.
We were very fretful the day the Israelis came in. They controlled the hospital and we had to evacuate. So we started to worry about it, and that happened, and we thought about where to go. But thank God, Nasser Hospital prepared and arranged everything, and that facilitated our emotional welfare.
Dr. Atef Al-Hout, director of the Nasser Hospital, spoke about the damages done to the dialysis unit.
Today, the dialysis service has stopped completely. The result is that patients have no place for dialysis. As you all know, the dialysis building was completely burned down and cannot be restored in a short time. So we were forced to create a dialysis department with existing capacities, using an old desalination plant, repairing it and reusing it as much as possible for 25 dialysis machines at Nasser Hospital.
On Friday, the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine Refugees, UNRWA, temporarily closed its headquarters in East Jerusalem after being attacked by Israeli extremists who set fire to the perimeter of the facility. Addressing the situation, Philippe Lazzarini, head of the agency, affirmed on social networks that the complex was attacked twice, describing the event as scandalous and stating it posed a serious risk to the staff. Lazzarini highlighted that in the last few months, the agency agency's workers have been regularly harassed and threatened with firearms. The UNRWA executive also stated the headquarters will not be reopened until security is restored in the area. These attacks come after Israeli authorities claimed that agency workers were linked to Hamas. The U.S. Department of State reported that Biden administration is apparently concerned about an Israeli military raid in Rafah.
What the president made clear is that we have concerns about a potential military operation in Rafah. I don't think that's any secret. We've been making those concerns known publicly, and we have made those concerns quite clear to the government of Israel. And as the president noted, there are certain types of military assistance that we will not make available to Israel for use in a campaign in Rafah.
In the United States, hundreds of pro-Palestinian protesters returned to George Washington University following Wednesday rallies, which led to evictions and the arrest of 33 participants. Earlier on Thursday, the group of students stopped in front of the residence of the Chancellor of the Washington Center with banners saying, "We are not leaving," and chanting "Free Palestine." Previously on Wednesday morning, police officers suppressed and cleared the camp, having arrested 33 ralliers ranging from 18 to 33 years old. Almost 3 weeks after the onset of the pro-Palestinian movement at Columbia University, protesters continue raising their voices in the U.S. and Europe to stop Israel's genocide in Gaza. The Conference of Rectors of Spanish Universities, CRU, issued a public statement in which rectors of 77 universities conditioned their relations with Israeli institutions. The higher study centers, between public and private, committed themselves to suspend or review their relations with Israeli academic institutions that do not entirely dissociate themselves from the offensive in the Gaza Strip, in addition to reaffirming their commitment to international humanitarian law. The CRU, which brings together 50 public and 27 private institutions, emphasized with the very serious events that have occurred in recent months inside the Palestinian enclave, explicitly supporting the student camps in regions such as Valencia, Madrid, and Barcelona. Iran's second round of parliamentary elections began Friday to determine the remaining 45 seats in the 290-member legislature. In this context, voting has started in 22 electoral districts of 15 provinces, where a total of 90 candidates are competing. The first round of the 12 elections took place on March 1st, and more than 61 million citizens were called to the polls. Precisely, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, the leader of the Islamic Revolution, exercised his right to vote at a polling station in Tehran and declared that all Iranians who want the progress of the nation have the duty to participate in the elections to make the parliament stronger.
The significance of the runoff elections is no less important than that of the main elections. God willing, our dear people will vote for a full parliament. The higher the turnout, the more powerful the parliament will be. The stronger the parliament is, the more it can work for the country.
Let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and more. Other stories coming up, stay with us. Welcome back. Severe weather conditions associated to a cold front in Brazil could worsen the situation in the state of Rio Grande do Sul, intensifying the heavy rains. According to the Brazilian National Meteorological Institute, strong blizzards and floods are expected again in the region by the coming days. The amount of rainfall is bound to increase the water levels and could cause new floods in the previously affected areas. The Weather Institute also informed that the cold front will remain in Rio Grande do Sul during the whole weekend, causing instability for the population that is still waiting to be evacuated. In the face of the catastrophe that has reportedly damaged 60,000 homes and left some 327,000 displaced, President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva gathered his ministers in Brasilia on Thursday to discuss public policies and announce the destination of some $10 billion to recovery efforts in the state of Rio Grande do Sul, where the delivery of humanitarian aid has intensified in the past days. In East Africa, floods and landslide caused by heavy rain severely affected Burundi, Kenya, Somalia and Tanzania. In this context, the United Nations stated that more than 230,000 people have been displaced in the last week. The report also stated that floods have affected more than 630,000 people, and in the meantime, there are no official records of death. Africa is highly vulnerable to climate change, despite contributing only 4% of global greenhouse gas emissions. Precisely, this continent is facing alternating cycles of drought and heavy rains that also worsens the food crisis, as studies indicate that if current climate change trends continue, crop production in Africa will decline by 2.9% by 2030 and 18% by 2050. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres on Friday in Kenya praised President William Ruto's leadership of the multinational security support mission in Haiti. During a meeting with the president of the African country, the United Nations Secretary General expressed his gratitude for the fact that African nation will begin deploying troops to Haiti at the end of May. Meanwhile, Haiti's Presidential Transitional Council has also sent an official letter to President Ruto requesting the start of the international intervention in the nation. In this regard, Kenya is prepared to work with a group of African countries and the Caribbean community to quickly strengthen the security support infrastructure in line with Security Council Resolution 2699. The presence of foreign military forces in Haiti is an issue widely criticized by local and international social activists and human rights defenders who claim that the 2004 United Nations mission in Haiti left numerous human rights violations. On that occasion, the United Nations Security Council authorized the deployment of a multinational force of 6,700 military personnel, the so-called Blue Helmets, in addition to 1,622 civilian police to restore order. It is worth noting that the force was led by the Brazilian army with 2,366 soldiers and 2,533 police officers. Among the numerous accusations against the foreign presence in Haiti are sexual assaults against women and minors. In Panama, the National Scrutiny Board, JNE, proclaimed José Raúl Mulino as president-elect of the nation following his victory in the elections held on Sunday, May 5th. Mulino will be sworn in as head of state on July 1st, following a transition process that will begin on June 3rd. The ceremony, he signed the act of proclamation in front of the magistrates of the Electoral Tribunal and international observers. The newly president-elect pledged to work in conjunction with the international organizations in the process of repatriating Panamanians overseas and deporting migrants who entered the country through the Darien Gap, the jungle border with Colombia.
We'll initiate, with international assistance, a repatriation process with full respect for the human rights of all the people who are there, so that those there and those who'd like to come know that the ones arriving here will be returned to their country of origin.
In Peru, the brother of President Dina Bolourte was arrested as part of an investigation for criminal organization and influence peddling. Nicanor Bolourte was preventively detained for a period of 10 days during an operative carried out by the Special Team of Anti-Power Persecution authorized by the judiciary. According to investigations, the President Bolourte's brother is accused of being the leader of a criminal organization with influence in the appointment of prefects and sub-prefects. The arrest warrant issued by the first Court of National Preparatory Investigation involves 8 people, including the Peruvian president's lawyer, Mateo Castañeda. In Argentina, at least 60 people were injured on Friday after a collision between a passenger train and a locomotive on the Palermo Viaduct on La Corta Avenue in Buenos Aires. The television channel C5N informed that the head of government of the city, Jorge Macri, ruled out the existence of fatalities but specified that 30 citizens are in serious condition. According to that media, around 60 ambulances and 2 helicopters of the emergency medical attention system arrived at the scene, and a red alert was declared in hospitals in the area. Firefighters and the police are also involved in the care of and evacuation of these people. The company Trenes Argentinos stated that an investigation has been launched to determine the causes of the accident. We have a final short break coming up, but before we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience. You can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and share the link to reach more people. Constant news coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean, as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected and informed with teleSUR. Final short break. Don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. In the Republic of Chad, the transitional president and leader of the military junta, Mohamed Idriss Déby Itno, won the presidential elections on Monday, May 6th, according to the National Electoral Management Agency. According to the agency, Itno led the process with a victory of 61.03% of the votes against his main adversary, the former opposition leader and Prime Minister Success Masra, who obtained 18.53%. General Déby Itno surpassed the 50% of votes in favor, a requirement to avoid the call for a second round of elections. The elections held last Monday, where more than 8 million citizens were called to exercise their right to vote, put an end to a 3-year transition period in the country after the death of the late President Idriss Déby, father of the president-elect.
In view of this overwhelming victory, I am now the elected president of all Chadians. I am not only the president of those who voted for me, but also the president of those who made other decisions.
Meanwhile, opposition candidate Success Masra rejected the results and called on citizens who voted in his favor to mobilize peacefully.
To all Chadians who voted for change, who voted for me, I say, mobilize peacefully. Do it calmly, with the same spirit of peace that you have shown in thinking about the future that we are going to build together. Witness what you have seen during these elections. Publish testimonies, photographs, polling station reports, and videos that show the magnitude of your victory.
Let's go now to the world of sports, this time with the news from the Olympic Games, because Chileans Maria Jose Mullard and Paula Gomez earned their berth to Paris 2024 in the discipline of canoeing. In this regard, the canoeists secured their spot on the Chilean delegation to France as member of the C2 500 meters boat after advancing to the final of the World Cup in Hungary with a time of 2 hours, 4 minutes and 40 seconds. We continue in Latin America, but this time we go to the Caribbean because Dominican weightlifter Dina Bolourte has also secured participation in her first Olympic Games in the 81-kilogram category. Mejia joins her compatriot Crismeri Santana, who also achieved the Olympic dream after the International Weightlifting Federation officially announced the final ranking of the athletes who will compete in each category in the event. In Spain, a total of 25 works from 7 countries will compete in the 7th edition of the Quirino Ibero-American Animation Awards, with Brazil, Mexico and Spain leading the nominations.
This edition will take place in the town of San Cristobal de la Laguna from the 9th to the 11th of May, with the main sponsorship of the municipality of Santa Cruz de Tenerife.
We are celebrating the 7th edition of the Quirino Awards here in Tenerife once again, and we are also doing so in the heat of the great stimulus that this activity, the audiovisual arts in general, but animation in particular, has in a territory like ours, which offers good tax incentives, but also the capacity to execute production with good professionals, with great companies that today are capable of creating and exporting talent.
Un total de 25 títulos.
A total of 25 films from 7 countries will compete in the 10 categories of these awards created to promote and highlight animation in the Spanish-speaking region. With 16 nominations, Spain heads the list of countries with the most nominations, followed by Brazil with 7 and Chile with 3. Argentina, Mexico, and Portugal are present with 2 works each, while Colombia has 1 entry.
Por primera vez, los premios Quirino.
For the first time, the Quirino Awards have added the feature film and animated series categories to their competition. The winners will be announced on 11 May at a ceremony to be held at the Leal Theater in San Cristobal de Laguna.
La selección de los ganadores.
The selection of the winners will be in charge of an outstanding jury made up of important directors. The Quirino Awards will also organize a new edition of its co-production and business forum, an initiative designed to promote the production and circulation of works in this region made up of Spain, Portugal, and Latin American countries.
We have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net and join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Alejandra Garcia. Thank you for watching.